Hey guys, how's it going? Jam here, and welcome to Snetterton, where you join me for round 3 of the Formula Rookie UK Championship. A little bit of admin and things to tell you about. I've turned the difficulty down for this race, because I really wasn't on the pace at Donington. I think I turned it up too much after the first race. But given how easily I managed to fly through the field, especially on lap 1, I've turned the aggressiveness, is that a word? Yeah, that's got to be a word. Basically, they're more aggressive, the AI that is. So hopefully this will be a little bit of a better balance. I was planning on doing the entire thing live com, so when you see all the bloopers, like you're watching on screen now at the same corner twice or 2 laps in a row, you're supposed to get my live reactions, but I've sort of found out whilst doing it that it's quite hard to be even just commentating, let alone in any kind of entertaining manner, whilst making a mistake, because you've got to sort of know that you're making a mistake. So I don't want to just commentate over every single thing that I'm doing during practice. It's a half an hour session where I'm just lapping around. It would get excruciatingly tedious and difficult for me. So yeah, it's going to go back to this livecom format, and that was so impressive that I decided to show a bit of a replay, because that is some serious airtime. There's no wings on this car, but it really wants to learn to fly. So yeah, I'm going to do this for all the future videos that I do on this game. Practice and qualifying I will do off of the mic, so I can really just concentrate and practice, because a lot of the time, especially if I'm going to a track that I don't know, then I'm really going to need to spend the time actually practicing, and doing things like that won't win me any favours. As spinning around the guy that I was following, I know it's only a practice session, but it's still, you still don't want to be making contact. But we're staying on board with this clip, because as I come round to finish the lap, I may have taken him out, but that was my quickest lap, so I wasn't going to back off. I did have some other issues in this session. I don't know if you probably can't tell just by looking at it. Spinning out of the pits looks a bit stupid. But I had an issue with my force feedback. I went into the pits to change setup. I changed to the stable setup compared to the loose that I was on, and it messed up my force feedback, and I didn't have any, so that's why I spun out the pits. And then I went for a second attempt at trying to go flat out through turn 1 with a stable setup this time, and it still didn't work. But back to Old Faithful, well, that's at least the 3rd time I've spun out or crashed at that corner. But that is going to be it for all the bloopers in practice. You did see me put one half-decent lap time in there, even though it was on a lap that I took somebody out at. But yeah, when I did get everything together, I did put in a pretty quick lap time, so it's looking like the adjustments that I made to the difficulty aren't really working too well. But we skip now to practice, where we're going to ride on board for my fastest lap of the race, which I'm apparently going to set... not fastest lap of the race, what am I talking about? Fastest lap of the session. As we started this lap, we already put in one fastest lap, and learning from our mistakes, not going flat out through turn 1, picking the braking point into turn 2 just before the first braking board, and then trying to hug nice and tight on the exit of turn 2 in order to open up the very tricky quick left-hander for turn 3, so putting in a new best sector 1 time. Not really too surprising, as I've already told you, this is the fastest lap that I managed during qualifying. Not a lot to really do down the back straight. It is a very long one. All you've got to do is just pick your gear shifts, and I think there's only 2 in this car. You're sort of exiting in 2nd gear out the previous corner, and then going into 4th, having a little bit of a slide through that corner there. So I definitely dropped a little bit of time, but as we know, still going to be the quickest lap that I put together on the whole. So I think I talk about it when I jump back to my live com later in the race, but there's a couple of these corners are very tricky. I'm really not a fan of them, where you're sort of going very quickly and flat out in a long corner in one direction like this to the right, and then having to brake hard for a sharp apex to the left. It's very tricky, but I managed it relatively well on this lap, and then it's just a simple run to the line, staying to the right hand side for the shortest route, and we come across to cross the line to improve on my lap time and put it on pole position, which was, well, quite comprehensively on pole position. I'm definitely going to have to play around with the difficulty more. It seems as though I do need to have it harder, because that kind of gap is just, it's just too much. I want to have closer racing. Presumably I struggled at Donington. Maybe I'm just not very good at Donington. But anyway, that is it for this sort of post-com section for the video. I will now hand over to my past self for the live com for the race. Okay then, back in the live com for the race. I was sort of planning to do the whole thing live com, but when I'm trying to concentrate and actually do practice, it might be easier to stick with post com. So I'm not quite sure how this video is going to be edited together. It might be quite similar to the last race at Donington, but I am back for live com for the race, where the main goal is to beat my teammate, even if I am on pole, and I should have the pace to win because I seem to have somehow messed up the difficulty. Let's see if we can get a good start. There's the lights. I don't think shifting up on the lights is necessarily the best way to start, but I do seem to have got quite a good start compared to the AI. So yeah, this could potentially be, or hopefully, be quite a boring race, as if I don't make any mistakes and show the pace that I showed in qualifying, it should be a relatively comfortable win, although that's not the best line through there. Nearly overcorrecting, as I often seem to do. Let's get that lap delta out the way, we don't really want that. And yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't really fancy HUD either. Let's turn... Why do I keep having that? I hate playing around with a HUD on this game, because there's a slightly different button assigned to the... well, it's a different button assigned to the timings, which I've got. I can change that one round at the top. But then I thought if I turned that off and then turned the HUD off, I'm supposed to get rid of that thing on the left, but apparently not. So we'll have to keep that there for now. It looks like I'm going to get round the first lap without incident. Haven't really pulled away from the AIs perhaps as much as I'd expected to. There we go, 1 second gap. So yeah, I suppose could do with finding something to talk about, really. So I don't particularly like this Snetterton circuit. It's quite easy to make mistakes in quite a few places on the track, but at the same time, I do seem to have done it quite a lot on the previous game. So I do sort of know where I'm going, although I don't like that corner at all. I much prefer the full layout, or I think there's 3 layouts, and this is the only one that cuts off there, and probably makes it the worst layout in my opinion. And then this corner coming up is completely horrible, probably my least favourite, or one of my least favourite corners on the entire game. I don't know why, I just never seem to be able to get it right. You just balancing the throttle and brakes all the way through a really fast left-hander, and then braking quite hard into a tight right, and you can't get it wrong on the inside because you'll clatter an absolutely huge great curb, and if you get it wrong on the outside you're just going to spin off. And then this bit's never particularly nice either because it's so long and fast and yeah, completely flat out, and then once again it's a very fast sort of corner to in one direction into a very tight apex into the other direction. So you've got a very quick left into a slow right, and then a very quick right into a slow left. It's not exactly the easiest type of corner to do on this game in this car. I have changed setup for this race. I was just using the default setup, which was the default loose setup. Well, I've changed that to the default stable setup, and it does seem to be working a little bit better for me, although I did have a lot of problems in practice. I lost my force feedback at one point and had to disconnect and reconnect my wheel, and I lost about 5 minutes of running, but fingers crossed it won't matter too much because I've got quite a gap at the moment. So yeah, I don't really know what to talk about now. What I'll probably do is I'll go for that speedy up thing, and maybe put a postcom over the top of it. I don't really know because this isn't massively entertaining at the moment. I'll finish this lap off, I think. Oh, wrong gear. There we go. Second gear is much better for that. And this end of the lap is just all about just picking the right line. This one's quite tricky because you kind of want to go late through it, and then so you can straighten up on the exit, but I never seem to get it quite right. Although that wasn't too bad. Could have done with hitting the apex a little bit better, but so it wasn't too bad, I suppose. So yeah, so much for a nice live comp section. I think I'm going to cut it off here, and I'll see you if anything interesting happens, or at the end of the race back again. So with not much happening during the race, I decided to give up on the live com because it was very hard to commentate while nothing was happening. A similar sort of thing that I found during practice and qualifying. So, resorting to a post-com format for this section of the race, where it's still going to be quite tricky for me to find anything interesting to say, simply because nothing's happening. Across the line there and go quickest, or quicker, once again. And it's just a case of trying not to make any major mistakes. I've clearly got the pace on the AI. As you see, looking back there, they're not even in view. So as long as I can keep it on the black stuff, I have a little bit of a moment there though, then this race really should be in the bag. We're about halfway through this section of me post-comming, as we come now onto lap 5 of this 8-lap race, or is this lap 6 now? I don't know. I think this might be lap 6 actually. Yeah, the HUD. Oh, the HUD. I could talk forever about the HUD. It's really rather annoying me. I need to get onto the game on a controller so I can use the analog sticks to move the things about, but it was annoying me in practice. I was trying to get rid of the lap time thing that's in the middle of the screen on the left hand side, about halfway up on the left hand side, and I was supposed to be able to do it by changing. I thought, yeah, when I was recording in the last session, the first 2 races, I thought I was able to get rid of it by toggling the fastest lap bit and then changing the HUD level, but alas not. Anyway, this is the one and only sort of minor-ish mistake for the race. Well, it wasn't the one and only minor mistake, but it was the biggest mistake I made all race, through the same corner that I was struggling with all through practice and qualifying. But even then, it was actually a pretty good save by my standards. So that's just the only interesting thing to slow down and show you, but back to my old self. Okay then, chaps, I think I'll come back to a little bit of a live com for the final lap of the race. As predicted, nothing much has really happened. Made a bit of a mistake at middle of lap 7 there. I was just really pushing to see how much quicker I could go in it. And it didn't pay off, but I've got the gap to be able to take those sort of risks at the moment. And yeah, just really not been too interesting. I think I need to turn the difficulty back up. I think it might have just be a similar thing with Project Cars 1. It's really hard to find the right difficulty, because like 100 might have been too hard at Donington but too easy at Snetterton. Even like the same car, same conditions or whatever, AI might just be better at one place than the other, comparative to me, or it might just be me being comparatively worse elsewhere, who knows. But yeah, this is going to be it for this race. How is that the best sector? I don't... It's weird, I seem to drive really badly in all of practice and qualifying, barring like the odd lap. Gets to the race and it's like, just go quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. But yeah, I think that's pretty much guaranteed now, isn't it? I'm going to win by, what's that, 14 seconds or thereabouts? And that's it for round 3. Wasn't bad, was it, really? My fastest lap ended up being a 1 minute 20.2. And that's what, 3 seconds quicker than anybody else managed. And my teammate down in 7th as well, so that seems to... that's given me quite an advantage going into the last round of the season. So yeah, winning by 16.7 seconds in the end. That was not the most interesting race. I will certainly need to be changing things up again for the final round. Got an 11-point gap now with 2 wins out of 3 and on the podium every race. And we're well clear in the team standing. So I'm going to call that for the video. Thank you very much for watching as always. If you did like the video, hit the like button. If you got something to say, put it in the comments. If not, don't worry about it. I'll see you for the next video. But until then, goodbye.